6 days after the Gillard federal Labor government lost the national election, the recriminations within have intensified. While we await the outcome of negotiations both major parties are currently conducting with crossbench MPs, the national president of the Australian Labor Party has already denounced what she calls New South Wales disease. This is the virus the President, Premier Anna Bligh, has identified as the political ruthlessness practised by power brokers emerging from New South Wales branch culture, where leaders are removed for poll or focus group-driven tactical expediency. She was referring, of course, to the removal of the Queenslander Kevin Rudd as Prime Minister of Australia on the 24th of June. It appears Labor has lost up to 9 federal seats in Queensland and suffered swings up to 13% in heartland New South Wales seats. Shortly we'll hear from another victim of New South Wales disease, former Premier Nathan Rees, dumped just 8 months ago to be replaced by a now unpopular Christina Keneally. First, the recriminations.
Carl Batar, along with Mark Abib, were part of the crew having brought Rudd down. They weren't content with that. They then wanted to traduce Rudd's reputation. And of course, when Rudd supporters, or himself, it's not known, retaliate, they throw their hands up. So, shock horror. The campaign is blindsided temporarily because of leaks. What did you expect? And what did you expect in sending the Prime Minister out in the first 2 weeks in a vacuum? Nothing to say, no big policies, and no core message.
Former New South Wales Premier Morris Iemma did not hold back. In an interview with Radio National's James Carlton, Mr Iemma diagnosed New South Wales disease, which he said had infected his party federally. The disease was personified by Carl Batar, former New South Wales Labor Party Secretary, now the party's National Secretary and Campaign Director, and Senator Mark Abib, another former New South Wales Secretary and one of the Rudd executioners.
Carl Batar believes that as a secretary, whether it's state or national, he has a veto over policy. There's a slavish adherence to the focus groups where they become iron law. They don't become a guide. They're not used to help craft a message or policies. They become the things that you live and die by. And he's made some very bad calls. He's been at the centre now of the collapse of 4 Labor governments. It's not myself. It was the Iemma, Rees, Rudd and now Gillard governments.
Labor's national president is the Queensland Premier Anna Bligh. Premier Bligh is currently unpopular in that state, with her government struggling on many fronts in the opinion polls.
I don't intend to let the New South Wales disease that sees leadership as a revolving door undermine a democratic mandate in Queensland. It hasn't worked in New South Wales, and it failed miserably federally. Queensland will not be infected by the New South Wales corrosion. We have a democratically elected government. That government is a strong government. We have what it takes to make the tough decisions, and we have what it takes to get to the next election and give people the chance to make their own judgment.
In last Saturday's federal election, it looks like Labor will lose 9 seats in Queensland, eliminating the bulk of the Gillard government's parliamentary majority. Most of these Queensland seats had been picked up in the 2007 Rudd slide.
One thing is clear, and that is that taking on and rolling democratically elected leaders is not necessarily a silver bullet in tough times.
In New South Wales, the Labor Party suffered a primary vote swing of from 7 to 13% in many heartland seats, with an across-the-state average swing of 4%. In some Labor seats, there was also a massive informal vote. The party lost Bennelong and Macquarie. The Liberals also picked up Gilmore and Macarthur, seats which were notionally Labor after the redistribution. The party did manage to hold on to Lindsay, Robertson, DeBell, Eden Monero and Page.
We couldn't go far enough to the right to out-Abbott Abbott in the outer suburbs. We're outflanked by the left by the Greens in the inner city. And what did we do? In the centre, in those middle-rung suburbs of metropolitan Sydney, we abandoned multicultural Estonia and they abandoned us on Saturday. The swings in some of our safest seats in the middle-rung suburbs of Sydney are massive. Our voters collapsed through the floor. And what's the response? The National Secretary goes on national television on Sunday and says, we performed better than we expected. It's all okay. There are swings of up to 20% in polling booths in previously safe Labor seats in the middle-rung suburbs, not the outer suburbs, in the middle-rung suburbs in multicultural Australia, because we said to them, subliminal message, we don't want you. We don't welcome you and we don't want you. And on Saturday they said, well, if that's your reaction, after decades of loyal support, we don't want you. And that's a seismic shift in voting support in these areas.
Labor Party historian and upcoming author on state politics, Rodney Cavalier, does not necessarily subscribe to the New South Wales disease explanation for this result.
We need to recognise the fact there was a bad government. The cabinet system government ceased to work. There was no criticism, debate, internal discourses. The caucus failed to provide an oversight. The National Conference has become an empty shell. 5 days of charade that you and the media should stop reporting. The National Executive is not doing its proper job. It apparently sees its job as finding out the will of the parliamentary leadership and executing it. There is no champion of the membership in any prominent place. So I would like to see a return to the days when the Labor Party played a role in a Labor government, instead of what we have now, a spaceship parliamentary party roaming free through the galaxies.
One of the current beneficiaries of Change the Leader expediency is New South Wales Premier Christina Keneally. The Premier, now suffering a deep popularity slump in the opinion polls, says she's learnt a lot from Labor's federal rout and the Penrith by-election and has promised to turn over a new leaf.
Make no mistake, I hear very clearly that the community wants governments of all political stripes and all levels to do things differently. I hear that loud and clear. They want us to put the people that we serve at the heart of government. They want us to break out of the predictable business as usual way of operating to dare to create something new. Now, that's why in the days ahead, I'll be articulating my vision, my direction that I want to take New South Wales. The change that I want to put before the people, the platform of change that I will put before the people for the March election.